As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized SEMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a SEMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the SEMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study exam. Start studying the SEMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, our dear professional colleagues, our ever attentive audience, our friends, who we call the Friends of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. We'll say the students of ICAN, we'll say ladies and gentlemen. Today is the day we have all been waiting for. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to another episode of ICAN on Air. And today is a Thursday, July 6, 2023. Our time really flies. We have a special person in the house, and before we then unravel who we have in the house today, which is why I said a very special person. My name is Fumi Olani, and I have today in the studio Michael Anchor Tosi Akiwumi. Over to you, Tosi.
Thank you very much, Fumi. It's a special edition here today, where we are having a special person here on the show today in person of the 59th president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Dr. Innocent Iweka Okwuosa, FCA. And he'll be speaking to all the members of the Institute and also friends of the Institute on the theme that we call ICAN on a New Trajectory. ICAN
Yes.
on a New Trajectory. I'm sure you all know so much about the 59th ICAN president. He has a very long profile, and because of our time, we would not be able to take that profile, but I'm sure members already have that profile handy. So let's sit back and relax as we quickly run some commercials. I'll be back with a special guest for today's episode. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Tax online. That is the easiest way, to pay your tax.
Companies income tax, value added tax, tertiary education tax, pay with tax promise, for returns when due, pay your tax correctly, and get your e-tax clearance. Pay your tax online.
My better people for Obodo Nigeria, I don't bring better information come give una. To pay your tax now, it don't dey easy like ABCD. With this new Ogbonge platform where the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) don't bring come, then they call them Tax Pro Max. With this one, now for your house or office, you go just dey pay your tax. And if you want pay your tax, make you log into www.taxpromax.firs.gov.ng. This message now the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) they bring am for now.
Pay your tax online.
You're welcome back to your favorite program, ICAN on Air. And today is a special one because ICAN himself is here in the studio with us. And I just want to remind you to remember to tell somebody, tell a friend to tell a friend that ICAN is here to talk to us. And wherever we are, just bring out your pen and your notepad because we're going to have to jot a lot of things today. So you're welcome again on 59th ICAN President, Dr. Innocent Okwuosa, FCA. Thank you so much for coming today, sir.
Thank you, Fumi and Tosi, for having me on the program today. Good evening, viewers, and thank you all.
Thank you so much, our president. It's an honor to have you on the show today. And here we are here on this program to talk about ICAN on a new trajectory. During your investiture as the 59th president of ICAN, precisely on the 20th of June, 2023, in the hallowed chambers of the council, where you gave your acceptance speech titled ICAN on a new trajectory, which eventually forms the theme for this special episode on ICAN on Air. Mr. President, how does it feel to lead one of the largest professional accountancy organizations in Africa?
Okay, that's great. You know that the way ICAN is structured is that you ascend as second deputy vice president, and you get to first deputy vice president, to vice president, and then to the president. So it means that once you are in second deputy vice president, you are already on your way to presidency. But when you assume that presidency position, well, I would say it feels great, but it comes with a lot of responsibility on your part. So while you feel great that you're the president, to me personally, I don't know about others, but it comes with enough burden that you need to be thinking about, because you want to maintain the ICAN brand and you don't want it to go down during your tenure. So it's having a huge sense of responsibility assuming that position. That's the way I feel.
That's a great feeling indeed. That's a great feeling indeed. Fumi, what do you have for Mr. President? I know you have lots of questions for Mr. President. However, I will also mention to all our viewers at large to keep on sending in their questions, as Mr. President is right here to answer those questions. Over to you, Fumi. Okay, I think Fumi is having a network glitch there. Okay, Mr. President. Okay, go ahead, Fumi. Go ahead.
All right, sir. So, thought leadership and advocacy are some of the very cardinal objectives of the Institute. What will you do differently in the presidential year to sustain ICAN's leading position in this area, sir?
Great. So in thought leadership, we aim to maintain our position, or our aspiration, let me put it, our aspiration to be the foremost professional accountancy organization in Africa and one of the foremost leading professional accountancy organization in the world. And for you to maintain such a position, you have to be abreast of what is happening within the profession. And in fact, be ahead of that. So today, there are a lot of developments within the profession. A lot of things are impacting the profession. We have issues around sustainability, issues around technological innovation and the impact of technology on the accounting profession. And the accountant will have to play a role in saving the world, because the thinking is that only the accountant can save the world. So you need to develop thought leadership around this so that you can inform your members, equip them to be at the forefront. Then you can maintain the leadership position that we are aspiring, among accounting profession in the world. So that's what we're going to do differently, because we have to make the Nigerian accountant to be on top of development in the profession. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's go back to the theme of today's episode. In your acceptance speech, you noted the theme of your presidential year as ICAN on a new trajectory. What were your intentions on the choice of this theme?
Thank you for that question. The intention behind that theme, ICAN on a new trajectory, because we will say a new trajectory, perhaps it doesn't really capture the intention behind that, because we talk about trajectory, maybe you are talking about a path, a new path, but I think it's more of ICAN on an upward trajectory. So we want to move higher and higher and higher by doing new things. And one of those new things we're going to do is also contained in what I said in my acceptance speech, in one of which we said that we are not going to volunteer silence in the midst of mounting challenges facing the nation. Our voice will be heard, clear, and direct. And that's a new trajectory for the Institute. Also, we want to be more visible in what is happening in the economy. There are a lot of issues coming up. Good enough, the new administration has taken some bold steps, and we have to provide the necessary support to government. That's more engagement with government and governance. It is our intention during this year to get more engaged with government. There is also more engagement with members, and we want to be in charge of those things expected of accountant. We have the ICAN Accountability Index. We'll make it to be more felt within governance in Nigeria, both at the federal and state level. We will introduce innovation that will change the way accountants practice accounting in Nigeria. We will engage with other professional bodies. So there's going to be much more engagement to position ICAN in its leadership role, because as we know, if we talk about profession in Nigeria, ICAN ranks #1 profession in the country. And we want to chart a course to continue to lead all the profession in Nigeria today. So that has to be ICAN on a new trajectory. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. You know, I've been seeing a lot of audience. Thank you for joining. So my question, sir, is we have seen several position papers being published by the Institute in the recent past, right? However, the years of policy makers in both public and private sectors? And what are you doing, you particularly as a president, to make sure that ICAN's input is sought before those policy decisions are made, rather than just responding to them after the fact?
Again, Fumi, thank you for that question. You know, for you, for these position papers to reflect in what government is doing, we have to be proactive and not reactionary. Maybe the way we've done with the path we've traveled so far. Being proactive means we have to work to dictate the direction that government has to follow in some of its policies. You know, we do advocacy visits, and when we do advocacy visits, maybe we visit the state government, the governor, or we visit the accountant general, or we visit the senators, or we visit the vice president, or we visit the president. We use those opportunities to impress it upon them on what the direction should be. So we intend to intensify that during this presidential year, make more advocacy visits, advocate for these policies upfront before they happen or crystallize as government policies. We then help to dictate the direction of where government should move. And if eventually that which we've advocated is not followed, then we then publish our position papers, and once more draw attention to government. Because one thing we know is that the government do listen to ICAN position on these economic matters. And we've seen instances where, based on our previous advocacy visit, future government policies draw from the position papers that were submitted to government. So it is more of proactive engagement before these policies come. And that's how we will make sure that we are not reactive to them.
That's a good one, Mr. President. Proactive engagement with those who are concerned so as not to be reactive to these issues. Another question for you, sir, is that one of the Institute's initiatives is the ICAN Accountability Index, ICAN AI, which has no doubt gained impressive mileage within and outside the country. How do you intend to increase its acceptance further? And what role will our members play in this process? Furthermore, as we intend to also expand this novel initiative to the private entities through the Corporate Reporting Award, what should the public expect in this regard?
Okay, so to see, I think you have crammed so many, unpacked so many questions in them, and maybe we should unbundle them one by one. So let's take the first one. What's the first one?
Okay, sir. So the first one is talking about the ICAN Accountability Index, which has gained a global applaud. And the question is, how do you intend to increase its acceptance further? And what role will our members play in that process?
Okay, good. So the ICAN Accountability Index is a novel idea or novel initiative of the Institute that advocates for better accountability and transparency in the management of public funds. What role with did you say our members?
Yes, our members.
And what's the first one? I didn't get the first question before members. There are two questions there. Okay,
so the first one is, how do you intend to increase its acceptance further?
Okay, good. Okay, so good. So let me address that.
Okay.
It's how do we increase its acceptance? Again, engagement. engagement with the relevant public sector that it is meant to serve this purpose of accountability and transparency in the management of their public funds. And that is the state government, the federal government, and we intend to extend that to MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies. Its acceptability lies, first of all, in awareness among these various tiers of government that is supposed to serve. So we have already concluded arrangement to visit the channels through which the awareness of the accountability index gets to those concerned. The team has concluded arrangements to visit the director of Governors Forum. You know, because the states are the ones that the accountability index assesses first in terms of how perhaps they manage these public funds that finances that we're talking about. So for that to be acceptable to them, for it to be accepted, they first of all have to be aware, what is this AI all about? And the Governors Forum is where all governors, in one way or the other, have a meeting point, if we say that, if I put it that way. So if we make it known to them through that forum, then each governor will then work towards providing the necessary information that the ICAN Accountability Index requires. That's one. In the past also, we visited the FAC committee and had engagement with the Accountant General and the state Accountant Generals. So again, we intend to do that more this year, visit them and create more awareness. You are also aware that the ICAN team, maybe the president and his entourage, sometimes meet state governors. And each time we meet state governors, we discuss their performance in the ICAN Accountability Index. And they do take cognizance of their position and make effort to improve on that. And we have a classical example of one state governor that came from the private sector. I don't want to mention the name, came from the private sector and didn't do well in ICAN Accountability Index. And when we met the governor and we say, look, you came from the private sector and this is where your state has fallen in this accountability index. And you know what? He didn't so much like it. In the next edition of the ICAN Accountability Index, he moved from maybe second to the last position to the third or fifth position. That is acceptance of the ICAN Accountability Index. As you're aware, in the moment I took over as president, we visited the World Bank. And you would have seen some news headline where they were flashing that ICAN advises the World Bank to grant loans on the basis of ICAN Accountability Index. I'm sure you saw that. That's one way of also increasing its acceptability, because just think about a situation where the World Bank says, if you're coming to me for loan, then I'm going to assess the ones you've collected, how you manage them, based on your performance in the ICAN Accountability Index. Nobody's going to tell the state what to do about ICAN Accountability Index. They will definitely ask, even if they don't know about it, just like what happened in PEFA. That's also one of the things we've discussed with the World Bank. You know, every state today is rushing to comply with PEFA. And we are in consultation and discussion with the World Bank, because they say the PEFA is going to be discontinued. And we're saying if we discontinue PEFA, can we replace PEFA with ICAN Accountability Index? You know why they are complying with PEFA? Because they get grants from World Bank. Supposing that grant is now going to be dependent on your performance in ICAN Accountability Index, nobody's going to tell the states to accept what that is. And these are what ICAN is doing to increase the acceptability of ICAN Accountability Index. Now, your second question is the role of members. You know, the process of gathering information on the ICAN Accountability Index, you know, we have like 5 pillars. One of the pillars is around budget credibility. The other one, maybe pillar 3, is around management of assets and debt. These information with which we assess this come from the various aspects of the finance function, treasury function within a state. And as you know, our members are placed in all these state finance function. The district societies are in contact with some of these members. Though we manage the whole information collection process from Lagos, but we have field assessors. So these field assessors are located in the various states, and we have the district societies. So one of the things we are going to do in this presidential year is to get the district societies involved. When you look at the district society platform, you could see activities of the district where they pay visits to Accountant General, to Auditor General, and to some secretary to the government, Commissioner for Finance. And these are the channels through which we gather all this information. So it's going to be decentralized further, and every of our member, especially those in the district society, will get involved. Every council member this year will have to, first of all, deliver his state. If you are from Taraba State and your state performed poorly in the ICAN Accountability Index, this year we're going to demand from you that you visit your state. I was in my own state to discuss about the performance of my state in ICAN Accountability Index. My own state has not been doing very well. And I met the budget commissioner, and I met the finance, the commissioner for finance. And we are working on how to provide the information required by the ICAN Accountability Index. We expect every ICAN member to get involved this year. Josie, you have to go to your state. Funmi, you need to also go to your state. Every ICAN member will have to get involved so that the ICAN Accountability Index becomes a household name in the entire country. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. You know, when you were talking, what came to my mind about the states that was the second to the last and became the 5th is the trajectory. So we are there, and then we will continue to get better. Audience, this is still ICAN on Air. We want to go on a short break, and we still have our very own Dr. Innocent Okwuosa, FCA, 59th ICAN president with us. Get your questions ready. We'll take them after the break. We'll be right back.
Tax romance, pay your tax online. That is the easiest way, yeah, to pay your tax.
Companies income tax, value added tax, tertiary education tax, pay with tax promise, for returns when due, pay your tax correctly, and get your e-tax clearance. Pay your tax online.
My better people for Obodo Nigeria, I don't bring better information come give you now. To pay your tax now, it don't dey easy like ABCD. with this new ogbonge platform where the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) don't bring come. Then they call them Tax Promax. With this one, now for your house or office, you go just dey pay your tax. And if you want pay your tax, make you log into www.taxpromax.firs.gov.ng. This message now the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) they bring am for now.
Pay your tax online.
Security is key to national development and growth. No nation can be truly economically successful without peace and stability, or when its security is threatened. This is why we must perform our civic obligation of duly paying our taxes so as to provide the needed resources for government to secure our lives and properties. When we pay our taxes, government is provided with the needed resources to equip our security agencies for a safer Nigeria. The money we pay as taxes is used to purchase equipment and hardware, invest in intelligence and other sophisticated technology, as well as cater for the welfare of all security personnel. A secure nation is a prosperous nation. Nigeria is safer when we pay our taxes. FIRS, it pays to pay your tax.
As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized CIMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a CIMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the CIMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study exam. Start studying the CIMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
Welcome back. And if you are just joining us on this show today, this is your educating and insightful program, ICAN on Air. And we have in the house today the 59th president of our Noble Institute, Dr. Iweka Okwuosa, FCA, who has been reading out his plans and programs for his presidential year on the couch team, ICAN on a new trajectory. Mr. President, you are doing well so far. Thank you very much for coming on the show one more time.
Thank you.
Okay, moving ahead with the questions. I can see questions rolling in for you, but moving ahead, the federal government recently announced the end of the subventions to professional bodies in the country. And ICAN was the first professional body to publicly confirm that it does not receive any subvention from the federal government. What has been the impact of the self-funding status on governance and activities of the institute?
Okay, to see, again, maybe that question would have been directed differently because, you know, when we put up the position paper, we made a case for that caption that talks about stopping subvention to councils, you know, professional bodies and council. But let me answer your question straight away because you were asking about the impact of stopping that convention on activities of the profession of ICAN. You know, our response is that we don't receive funding. So if we don't receive funding and federal government stops funding of professional bodies, then definitely will have no impact on us. But I think the core issue that we should consider in that is stopping subvention to regulatory council, because included in that circular is an intention to stop subvention budgetary allocation to NCC. the National Council for Climate Change. This is a new council that is just coming up, charged with the issue around climate change. Climate change and energy transition is a current issue globally and locally. And this council is just trying to find its level. If we stop allocation, how do we expect them to kick off? Secondly, we also made mention of the Financial Reporting Council, because I asked, the Financial Reporting Council said they received that circular. Are they going to stop subvention to Financial Reporting Council? When we're saying they do not have enough resources to carry out the mandate that has been allocated to them, a very important mandate that are supposed to execute, and they will stop budgetary allocation to them. How are they going to get funds to fund their operation? So these are the greater issue in that circular. It's not necessarily funding the professional bodies, because as far as I'm aware, federal government has not been giving any budgetary allocation to any professional body that we are aware of. And so that policy of stopping the budgetary allocation to professional bodies really will have no impact in the activities and operation of these professional bodies. And we support that. Like I said, we support that because it will, in one way or the other, impact on the cost of governance. We all complain about high cost of governance within the public sector. And if government will off-hand from professional bodies, because professional bodies should be self-funded, self-financing, and not rely on government. And so that we see as a positive thing, because it will reduce the high cost of governance. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sam. And we have a lot of people sending in questions already. Fagbola, I see you. Ojedo Kun Sunday, Patience, Musa Jude, Amaka, Akimbobola. We see all of you. And then we have questions coming in. I will take the questions as soon as possible. But Mr. President, I just want to ask about there's a lot of proliferation of accounting bodies, and it's a major issue with our profession, especially in this country and the sector that we belong. How will your administration really tackle this issue? Because it's eating deep into us.
All right. Thank you very much, Fumi, for that question. Of course, in my acceptance speech, I also hinted on that. But why the press reported it as a concern to us, the real issue around proliferation of the accounting profession is that it breeds quackery. Quacks come into the profession to practice. As an institute, I want to emphasize that it is not that we're really bothered about the proliferation. And why do I say so? Because we know the ICAN brand and we know what it's made of. What we complain or what we challenge in the coming of these parts of accounting that are packaged as full professional bodies is a clause they normally insert in their act that criminalizes somebody or other people that have been in that profession before they came on board. Take, for instance, the Institute of Chartered Accountants was established in 1965. In 1965, if you talk about accounting, everybody knows what is embedded in the definition of accounting. They were not part of it that were separated or fragmented. But as we then move, because human ambition is something you cannot stop. Human aspiration will always rear up its head. We are not against that. It's a welcome development because it challenges those who were in that space before the coming on board of another to sit up. So we don't have any problem if more bodies will come, but don't criminalize us because we have been in that practice before you come on board. So in 1965, for instance, there's no way anybody can imagine that the definition of accounting does not include tax. Forensic is a recent happening. And what are we talking about? Forensic accounting. And you have accounting profession. And then the forensic accounting guy tells you, you cannot practice forensic accounting, whereas we are Institute of Chartered Accountants.
Yeah.
So something is wrong somewhere. Either the legislation process, those who are involved in it, do not go to study and find out what is wrong with what is being conceptualized. Today, we belong to international accountancy organization. We're a member of IFAC. We belong to Chartered Accountants Worldwide. And our contemporaries in other jurisdictions practice this thing we're talking about. And then you come to your country, Nigeria, and we claim we are foremost professional accountancy body. Then there is a group telling you you cannot go into this aspect of accounting practice. What are we doing? Diminishing our own brand of accounting practice. So that is what is wrong with the proliferation. But if it is proliferation that is made, that is meant to engender competition, we will say, bring it on. We are well equipped to compete favorably with anybody that comes. But don't criminalize us. So that is the point we make. What we're saying that you have proliferation. You can proliferate whatever you want to do, but don't criminalize ICAN people that were already practicing this before you came on board. Yeah. And I think that point is easy for everybody to understand. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President.
I feel the passion. Trust me.
Exactly. Okay, let's quickly take some questions from the audience. These are the members of Mr. President. They want to hear from him regarding some bothering issues. So the first one, Akimbo Bola Christopher Olurotimi. Say, well done, Mr. President. What is the status of review of ICAN syllabus, especially with regards to the several changes in the tax laws?
Okay, let me bring a little bit of clarification, which may not be known to our members. You know, there was a time when we review ICAN syllabus, the period of 5 years cycle. Subsequently, it came down to 3 years. So every 3 years, we review the ICAN syllabus. But a time came when we looked at the dynamism of what happens in the accounting profession. It is no more a periodic affair of, say, 3 years, 5 years issue. It is more of an annual event, like the Finance Act stuff. So what did Council do? Council constituted a syllabus review committee that ought to incorporate changes and developments in accounting in our environment, as well as internationally, to incorporate them in the ICAN syllabus. And this is done on a yearly basis. So the Finance Act is always incorporated in ICAN Act and takes into consideration all that happens in any development in the tax laws. One other aspect that people need to understand is that when we incorporate something in the syllabus, may be the time lag that people do not, or people will need to know, because one thing is to incorporate it, another thing is for it to be due for testing. So it gets due for testing after 6 months. This presidential year, we want to go further than incorporating just the annual development like the Finance Act. There have been a lot that has happened within the accounting profession. Even in our own environment. Incidentally, you must have heard that Nigeria became the first African country to adopt sustainability, the ISSB sustainability reporting. And today we have IFRS S1, IFRS S2. So we are talking about integrated thinking in reporting. In the concept of integrated reporting, we're talking about 6 capitals. It's no more financial capital where financial reporting is focused upon. Accountants in Nigeria will have to be at the forefront of this new trajectory and development in corporate reporting. And that's where we're headed to. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have another question from Kolawole Akonde. He says, President, I know what you've been doing in respect of ICAW. What will you do to ICAN's reciprocal with Canada CPA, CFA, and so on and so forth to be easier, just like ICAN is making membership easy? I know, that's the jackpot flights,
Exactly. Exactly. Bolani Wabiri asked similar question, so everything can put it together.
Okay. All right. So one issue I talked about in my acceptance speech is around internationalization of ICAN brand. And that internationalization connotes in there spreading our tentacles, linking them, getting hooked and attached to other international PAOs, such that our qualification, the ICAN qualification, can easily exchange for other international PAO qualification. We've achieved that with the ICAW, like you said. SEMA is doing advertisement in this your program to see. That's part of it.
Exactly.
And the CPFA in UK is also there. This year, or even prior to this year, because I chaired the reciprocity committee even before I became the president. So there are already works on the pipeline because we have a vision to internationalize the ICAN brand. We know that ICAN members are mobile globally when it comes to work. You talk about JAPA, but whether you look at it from the perspective of JAPA or from the perspective of mobility of the profession, because there's something we're talking about or discussing in PAFA, that's the Pan-African Federation of Accountants, where we talk about the mobility of accounting profession so that accountants within Africa can move from one jurisdiction to another and be able to work. That's the vision we have of the ICAN Chartered Accountants. But we have a vision beyond Africa. So our own is focusing on the mobility of the ICAN professional accountant to be able to move globally and work globally. So we already have initiated a mutual recognition agreement we've initiated with the CPA Canada, with the CPA Australia, because we know that mobility of work within the profession is tending towards Canada, and we want our members to benefit from that. Incidentally, we'll be attending the Canada conference, and one of the things we've told them to do is to arrange for a meeting between the president's entourage and CPA Canada on one-on-one discussion, and we're going to do that this month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think your members can count on you regarding the reciprocity agreement between ICAN and other institutes for your members to actually benefit from. What advice do you have for managers of our economy on how best to engender growth and lift a lot of Nigerians out of poverty, especially in this period of subsidy removal and unification of exchange rates?
Okay, so the theme of this year's conference is around inclusive development. Inclusive development. Inclusive growth and development. And if we talk about inclusive, we are looking at everybody. The poor masses, the rich, the political class, the market woman, all the various strata that make up the Nigerian citizen and the public, that is the Nigerian public. We want everybody to be catered for, and then we can think about growth. Now, the essence of government policy is to make the individual, the citizens benefit. I think they call it dividend of democracy.
Exactly.
And they want to feel it immediately. It is not the one that is going to come in 2 years' time. They want it now. So, government has removed subsidy. There's unification of the foreign exchange. Good policies that we are clapping for government. We're clapping for government for doing that. But what matters to those at the bottom end income is how does it translate into better life for us? We in ICAN, we support government for those bold initiatives that they have taken, but we advocate for palliatives. So, well, I lived in UK, and I know one of the policies of government in UK is that there is a definition of what they call the living wage. The living wage, that's the minimum wage. And if your income falls below the minimum wage, you get what they call income support from government. So as we engage in these radical economic policy reforms, how does it impact on the bottom income earners in the country? As long as we have that in mind, then we will work towards inclusive growth. And that is our advice for managers of Nigerian economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Fumi, do we still have time? Because I know we have lots of questions from the audience, and questions keep on coming in for Mr. President, but our time is fast spent. I'm double sure that Mr. President will have to come back again on this show so that members can actually get clarifications and explanations on the plans and programs for his presidential year. What do you say, Fumi?
So I don't think we have any more questions than to say, how do you relax, Mr. President? and we can say good night.
And that's good, exactly. Let's now relax.
I don't know whether I relax. So that's the truth. Sometimes I wake up 4 a.m. and I'm thinking about ICAN. Today, I woke up like 4 a.m. and there was an issue that I was thinking about the Institute. And I said, I think I should wake up and scribble down something now. Am I going to relax? I don't know whether I'm going to relax this 1 year. Or maybe after this 1 year, I'll find time and go to the beach and take time off. Maybe that's how I relax.
Yes, sir. Thank
But
you. Great.
I like traveling and
so
visiting.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Mr. President. We actually appreciate your time on this show. And like I said earlier, we want to have you in a very not far away time from now so that we can continue on this engagement with our members and friends of the Institute. We say thank you once again for coming on the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Tosi and Fumi, for the good work you're doing on this program. And I will encourage you to please keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. So, Fumi, let's quickly take some announcements that we have on this show today. Our time is fast spent. The 53rd Annual Accountant Conference is here again. It's here. And it's going to happen, of course, in Abuja between October 9th and October 13th, year 2023. The theme of the conference is Nigeria, Imperatives for Inclusive Development. All members should quickly, of course, let's start making our registration. Let's start booking our tickets so that we can be a participant in that AAC. It's going to be a very lovely one with very lovely side attractions like business exhibitions, sports, happy hour evening of varieties, gala nights, raffle draw, and more to benefit, including, of course, the seminars and paper presentations. Also, in this month of July, we also have the MCPD for Islamic Finance happening between July 19 to 20th. And of course, the amount is 20,000 naira. And the next will be in the world of telecommunications happening between July 26th and 27th. All of this information are on ICAN website, and we can actually get the full gist of all those things on ICAN website. Fumi, I think it's a lovely program on the show today. Hello, Fumi.
Yes, it was quite enriching, insightful, and I'll say apologies for extended past 1 minute. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It's great to be here. And remember, keep yourself busy, relax all the time as much as you can, because health is wealth.
And with that note, we are signing out. We say thank you very much on behalf of the producers and editors of this show. We say thank you very much. Keep being with ICAN on air. And we say have a lovely evening. Stay safe and stay sound.